Well, hello.
Hi, hi.
Fancy meeting
How,
you here.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm trying to share us to my group and from my phone.
Wonderful. Yeah,
Mm. I'm
awesome. Well,
excited. I'm excited about today.
me
Hello.
too.
Hi, hi.
Oh, that was just the echoing. Okay. I was like, some weird feedback. So we're
Oh
good.
no, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm good. I've
Yay.
got it shared. Sorry.
Okay.
Usually I'm ready to do that, but I was distracted.
Yeah. All
So
right.
I'm excited to do this because tis the season and all that stuff.
I agree. I love baking, and especially over the winter time, I bake up a storm. So, and my favorite thing to do is bake edibles. So, this
Hmm.
is super exciting. So, I can't wait to share what we've learned over the years and some helpful tips and dosages and things like that. So, yeah, that's all we're going to be talking about today. So, but before we get started, Amanda, just really briefly, if you want to introduce yourself, I'll quickly introduce myself as well, and then we'll get started.
Okay, hi y'all. I'm Amanda Hughes. I am the founder of an organization in Texas called Higher Education Texas. I'm a cannabis educator. I am also a licensed esthetician. I teach cosmetic chemistry and I'm an herbalist. So Heather and I met and fell in love through our mutual love for this plant and later figure out all the plants. And so here we are coming at you live.
Yeah, this is exciting. So, yeah, definitely a passion of ours. And again, my name is Heather Kreider. I am the co owner of Hempfield Botanicals in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and also for 2022, Hempfield Apothecary. So, if you have yet to hear about that, I know it's so exciting. Definitely check out. We have a press release on our Hempfield Botanicals website, and we'll be explaining more about that coming up. But yeah, so excited. I'm also a registered nurse in the state of Pennsylvania, as well as a licensed esthetician. I am a Pennsylvania medical marijuana card holder as well. So I have a huge passion for cannabis, and I've seen it work miracles in my life. And I just am so excited to share my knowledge and just passion with everyone else. So, yeah. So let's get started.
Let's get started.
All
Okay,
right.
so when you first start cooking with cannabis, obviously you have to have some cannabis. So you can have different forms. It doesn't have to be flour, but the main thing to know, sorry, there's a hair somewhere around here. The main thing to know is your product decarboxylated? If it's flour, obviously it's not. Um, that's important to know because the acid form in the plant, for example, or in products that aren't decarboxylated, there are some advantages to THCA, but they're not psychoactive. So in order to get to THC from THCA, you have to do something called decarboxylate it. So this little chart here, I actually stole this off of the Magic Butter Machine
Hmm.
page. I like that page because it's really simple. And we could go into making this a lot more complicated, but I thought we'd stay simple today. But they leave the middle letter out of the acronym for each
Yes.
cannabinoid. So where it says CN should be CBN and
Yep.
CBD, THC. So that's what that's about. So in Fahrenheit, these are general temperatures. And I say general because it's not that it won't work at slightly higher or slightly lower. It's just that it may not work as well. So when people tell me, hey, well, I decarb my THC at 240 and it works great, or 255 and it works great, unless we're lab testing our products, we don't know which of our methods work best. But I
Right.
also will add, if you can still see me, like everybody may already know, but I have an oven thermometer. And I'm going to tell you right now, this will make you mad. When you get an oven thermometer and you start testing, because I have an oven and a toaster oven, none of them are completely accurate, and you can have them calibrated, or I can just buy this $9.99 clock and a thermometer and adjust. So you want to know that your oven temperature is what it needs to be to decarboxylate. And if you noticed on there decarboxylation is not a standard process
Mhm.
for all the compounds in the plant, meaning the compounds in the plant are all decarboxylated or have a boiling point, if they're terpenes, of different temperatures. And then to decarboxylate different cannabinoids at different amount of times. So what you have to do is determine from the product that you have, what is the major cannabinoid, or what are you which one of the cannabinoids are you trying to decarboxylate? So most of the time that's THC. So somewhere between, I usually am happy if my oven thermometer hovers between like 245 and 255. I'm pretty happy with that. It depends on factors. I sometimes will take my toaster oven outside if I'm doing flour to decarboxylate because of the scent. But that's what we're trying to do, is we're going to decarboxylate a product if it's not decarboxylated. While we're talking about flour here, let me talk about, back up just a little bit before we're going to flour. Whatever product you're using, if you are decarboxylating it, if you are putting it in the oven for a certain amount of time, or heating it in anything for a certain amount of time to get the non-acid forms, THC, for example, your product, your end result product, is going to be made or lost in the decarb process. You are either going to get exactly what that plant has to offer if you do it right, or you're going to get a disaster, and you won't know. Like disaster meaning it's far less potent than you thought it would be.
Right. And
so this is the magic.
Sorry, yeah, and really quickly for decarboxylation. So the reason why we have to do this with flour is because flour, if it's not heated, right, it's not necessarily, those cannabinoids are not activated enough. So like you said, it drops that acid form and creates another type of a product. So that's why
totally.
Yeah, you can't just throw a bud into butter and warm it up, heat it up, and think it's going to infuse. You have to decarb that raw flour first to activate that, to then make it to be activated and be able to, once you eat it, get the effects that you want.
Yeah. So absolutely. What I was avoiding doing is using the word active form or activate, only because there are so many advantages to THC and CBDA and the non-decarboxylated form. But I do think that probably draws it home a little bit better. If you want to have the psychoactive effects of something that contains large amounts of THC, you have to decarboxylate it to get THC. That's the psychoactive form. That's why we smoke our weed. We don't just eat raw weed.
Right. Yep. Makes total sense.
Yeah. So I'm going to go through just a little bit about flour, because that's primarily what I use. There's so many complicated ways that we could do this. You can decarboxylate yourself in your oven, in your toaster oven. There are decarb, like the Ardent box, there are decarboxylating machines and boxes you can use. I, most of the time, will put mine, I'll set my oven temp. I will use my oven thermometer to see if it's as close as I can get it to whatever temperature I want. I most of the time use a glass Pyrex dish, and either with the glass lid, or if you don't have a glass lid, then you can use an oven bag, like a turkey bag.
Yes.
And I do that for a couple of reasons. I'm taking my toaster oven outside if it fits in the toaster oven. So it's not really so much about the scent now. It's that if you can smell it, you're losing terpenes.
Yep.
And or let me say, the more you can smell it, the more you're losing your terpenes. So I keep it covered, and also I don't take the lid off or the oven bag off until it's completely cooled, because if not, you're going to give yourself a giant vape, which is fine, but you're losing those volatile. I've done that too. So, but you're losing those volatile compounds. So, and the reason that I use glass is because with a silicone spatula, I can make sure when I'm done and scratch all the flour out. I've just broken the flour up with my fingers. I put like nitrile gloves on and break it up. And then you can get every little trichome out, and you can get it off your spatula. This is just the method I use. I bake anyway, so I like these tools. You can also decarboxylate in a jar. in is it called a sous or in a sous vide in the bags?
Yeah.
Have you done that?
Yeah.
The jar can go in a pan on the stove if you can keep the temperature stable, which is difficult. So I actually would prefer to do mine in a crock pot. And so what you're doing with that is your little thermometer. I use my little thermometer to check the water temperature. I like putting my jars directly in the oven and directly in the or my little glass pans directly in the oven. So what we're doing is just trying to decarboxylate flour, and then the next step is to infuse it into whatever you want to infuse it. Now you could just use decarboxylated flour straight into a recipe. You can put that in a clean coffee grinder or food processor and turn it into a flour and use it in place of flour. You can just crush it up and sprinkle it in your spaghetti sauce and in your brownies. You can eat that flour, but because you've decarboxylated it. But most likely you're wanting to infuse it into something that you can bake with, and most commonly that's oil or butter. If you do use butter, make sure that you use salt-free, unsalted. Ghee is really nice too because it's clarified. Coconut oil is really delicious to bake with, but my favorite oil that I use is avocado oil. And most of the time I do that because it's pretty tasteless and you can use it to bake with. It's good to use it as like a tincture. Also, you could use it for salad dressing. So it works for savory or sweet, and it has a really high saturated fat. And so when we get into talking about any of the cannabis forms that you're cooking with, no matter what they are, when you get ready to bake with them, what's really important is the infusion process of the product that you made to bake with. So when a really high fat, a high saturated fat is going to give you better absorption. Anything that your liver has to process and pull through that first pass metabolism will give you better absorption. I know that gummies are super popular, right? Well, gummies don't really have fat in them. So just eat something with fat when you eat your gummy. If you make gummies, just, eat a little yogurt or something with it.
Yeah, scoop of peanut butter.
Exactly. So that's kind of as basic as I can get, just how I do flour. There's a lot of other ways. To be honest, I frequently am making an alcohol tincture and evaporating it down to Vico and using that concentrated form. Most of the time, that's what I do. But I do make some chocolates where I just use the flour. I grind it up really, really small, and then I put it in the chocolates with something else, coconut or crushed up candy cane or something. And they're delicious because you get that extra little crunch.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So many things.
Yeah, there are a lot of different ways. Yeah,
and I think we have a delay.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, less of a delay. I was just going to say, so I originally started off with doing the oven version. And then the more I baked and the more I got into it, the easier that I wanted. I wanted to almost set it and forget it. So one of the devices, and you mentioned it earlier, is the Ardent Nova. I like the basic piece of equipment. And honestly, I do have a video that will be coming out very soon on how to use that device. But honestly, it's just weigh your flour out, break it up, put it in your Ardent device, put the little rubber gasket on the top, screw it on, and push one button, and you walk away. So it's like, because I went through the same thing too. My oven temperature wasn't right, and I had to use an internal oven temp thermometer to make sure. And it's just like, so to me, around in Pennsylvania, cannabis is expensive, and you don't want to mess it up if you're using that. So as long as you're careful and cautious, great, oven works. But then maybe as you progress and want to do it more and more and more, a device like that is fantastic.
Yeah, I just feel like most people have basic stuff at home to start with, but if you find that you're going to do it more often, for sure, I have other devices too that I use. So, but I will say one thing I forgot to mention. I was like, oh no, after you have made your butter or your oil, You're going to infuse that depending on what it is. This is going to get into a lot of detail, but you're going to infuse the cannabis into the oil in heat in a controlled, heated environment, depending on what your medium is, whether it's oil or butter. But it's going to take a few hours. It's going to take a controlled temperature of about 190, 200 at the most for 4 hours ish. So that's why I like the crock pot method. But what you have to have, if in case anybody's been writing down like, okay, I need an oven thermometer and I need this, cheesecloth, get cheesecloth, because that's how you strain it. And don't throw away what I call the sludge.
No.
After you've squeezed all that oil and butter out and you just have sludge, don't throw it away. Throw it in some salsa or something, because there's still a little bit of cannabinoids left. And that's why I make FICO most of the time, because I know that as a solvent, it's stripping everything off, and the flowers, it's done when it's.
That's amazing.
Done.
That's amazing.
And it's a really easy.
So Amanda, our first step is decarbing the flower, right?
Yeah.
And then the second step is to then infuse that decarbed flour into your fat component, whether, Amanda, you said avocado oil, a butter, a ghee, coconut oil, whatever you decide to infuse it in. And then again, that's that long, slow, low temperature infusion.
Yes. And then when you get ready to cook or bake, you can just replace the exact same amount of butter or oil in any recipe with your cannabis butter and oil. Same exact. And even you could even throw in some of that sludge if you had something crunchy and you wanted it.
Do you want to start with, let's move on to the next. Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Yeah. So potency. So since we're already on flour, I'll talk about the potency of, if you're trying to figure out the potency of your edibles. So it's, if you have lab testing and you know the percentage of THC, let's say, for example, if you know the percentage of THC in your flour and you know how much cannabis you have, you can weigh it. What you're going to do, go ahead, Heather, you want to talk about this?
Oh no, I just brought up your
This is the lab testing. So when you get something tested, there is an amount of THCA. That's what you're looking for, remember, because THCA means it's not decarboxylated. There's a tiny bit sometimes of THC that has been naturally oxidized and decarbed a little bit. And then sometimes you may have THCV or other forms. So when you are trying to determine the percentage available, I want you add all those cannabinoids, all the THC cannabinoids, not all the cannabinoids, not the CBG, etc., but you would add your THC and your THCA together. So for the total. So now you know your total THC, all tetrahydrocannabinols, all of them. So let's say it was 20%, and you have 7 grams of flour. You have a quarter. You're going to you need to know how many milligrams is in a gram. So that's easy, right? 7 grams times 1,000 is 7,000 milligrams. I'm going to take that flour weight, which is 7,000 in my example, and multiply it times the THC, the percentage. But your percentage is a decimal point, right? So if something is 20% THC, that just means 20 out of 100% of it is THC. So you're going to turn that into a decimal. So now you've got your 1,400 milligrams. Is that what we did? 14? Yes, 14. Did we do 14 or 7? We did 7. Sorry, 7,000 milligrams. 7,000 milligrams multiplied by the 0.20, the percentage of your THC, that's how many total milligrams of THC are in that flour. Okay, so now now I know how much it is. Now I want to know how much THC is going to be per serving of whatever I'm making. Let's say it's a batch of brownies. So I am going to now take my 1,400. I have to do math now, right? I think I wrote it down.
Math gets everybody.
I think I got it. So 7,000 milligrams 7,000 milligrams is how much your cannabis weighs. 7,000 milligrams divided by 0.20, 20%. That makes me have 350 milligrams of THC in my flour. So now how do I figure out how much is going to be in my whole batch of brownies? Well, if I'm going to cut those brownies up into, is my math right here? If I'm going to cut those brownies up into, oh, look, you put an example on there.
I did, yeah.
Here I am making it up. Oh, but mine's just twice that because it's 7%.
Yeah, basically.
So mine's just twice that. So anyway, you're going to take the total number of milligrams of THC in your flour and divide that by how many pieces, how many brownies you cut up. So if you cut up 12 brownies, I think that's like 29, 30 milligrams each.
Yep.
So, but that's if you decarboxylate it perfectly.
Yes.
So if you don't have access to lab testing and you don't know what percentage or what strength your flour is, or you're not calibrating your oven, so now we've got two possible ways to make a mistake, or you're not calibrating your oven, you're not decarboxylating for the right amount of time, you can certainly see where you could quickly lose potency and never make it to that full 29 or whatever it was, in your case, 19.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so we do have an example right at the bottom. So it's super simple. I use the example of, and I don't know if you guys can still see me, which I think you can, because I think we're all three up here, the screenshot and Amanda and I. But this is a medical marijuana container from Pennsylvania, and this is a 3.5 milligram or a quarter of an ounce. So same thing. And I put the basic steps all along the bottom as an example. So this will be an easy reference for everyone to go back. Our videos are always, they're recorded and they're available on our YouTube channel. So if you ever do get confused about how to determine dosages, this is on here as well. And then Amanda, I think next I'm probably going to show a concentrate. Because it is a little bit, it's definitely much, much easier. I like to cook with raw flour and decarb it and put it into butter. It's a little bit longer of a process. And sometimes I don't have that much time, so I will use a syringe. So I just grabbed this screenshot here. So if you look on here, there's an apple cider syringe. It is a 1 gram syringe. Just like Amanda said earlier, this one actually contains THCV at 0.96%. And if you look where my pointer is at, my whatever it's called, my mouse thingy.
Cursor.
Cursor. Yeah, there we go. THC count is 80.53 and the THCV is 0.96%. The difference between flour and a syringe is
concentrated.
Yes, it's concentrated and it's also already activated. So notice on
decarbed.
Here, the acid form of THC, you see THC because they already activated the THC. This syringes are made to be edible immediately. So I could honestly take a tiny little rice size container of this. I thought I was sharing my screen. I'm so sorry, everyone.
No, you were, for a while we saw the product.
You did. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, yeah, so really, this little guy here, you can eat this. It's edible right out here. It's activated and ready to go. You can also just bake with it. So this is basically the concentrated version of your infused oil, your infused avocado oil, all of that. So briefly, really quick, I'm going to share with my screen one more time with everyone here. Let's see. And we're going to go down and... Okay, so everyone, you saw this, correct? So yes. Apple cider syringe, so there's our amount. So the next screen, what I did was I broke that down. So concentrates are usually available in a type of a syringe. This is a glass syringe. Sometimes they're made of plastic. I prefer the glass syringes. Concentrates are available in 1 gram syringes and also 0.5 gram syringes in Pennsylvania. So really this makes it super easy. So basically your first step would be to take the total weight of the concentrate, okay? And that's actually found on your containers. So you could see here, this is a 1 gram syringe. So in a 1 gram syringe, I know if I take that 1 gram and convert it to milligrams, it's going to give me 1,000 milligrams. So it's basically the same thing that Amanda did before. But what you're going to do then is take those total milligrams and you're going to multiply it by the potency. So for example, this is 1,000 milligram syringe. In this syringe, according to the previous screen that I showed you, it has 81.49% THC and THCV and whatever other THC constituents were in that. So that actually equals, if you multiply that out, 814.5 milligrams of total THC in this little guy right here. So basically then what you would do is take this once it's infused into your edibles, and then you're going to divide it out. So if this syringe here made 40 cookies, I'm going to take that 814 milligrams and divide it by those 40 cookies, and it comes out to approximately 20.36 milligrams per cookie. So that kind of gives you a really simple way to cook with cannabis if you don't want to go through the decarboxylation process. So that makes it really, really nice. And one way that I absolutely love cooking with cannabis. So that's available. And then as far as infusing it, honestly, Amanda, you could pretty much infuse anything fat-based, whether it's a cookie with coconut oil in it, a cookie recipe. I make my grandma's favorite peanut butter cookie recipe every time. So yeah, it's delicious. So yeah, you can use it. Yeah, you can use it in ice cream if you're making ice cream. I mean, like you said, salad dressing.
So much easier.
Yeah, it's really, really simple. But what you have to do is just your portions are what's the most important, right? So trying to figure out.
Cut them the same.
Yeah, cut them the same, cut them even, so you kind of have an idea. My other tip, and Amanda said she uses the same thing, I use for when I make cookies, a melon baller, because when I pull my cookie dough out, I make sure it's even across and drop it on, and I know my cookies are going to be basically the same size throughout the whole batch. And that way I can dose my cookies a little bit easier. So yeah, super simple. Concentrates, I love. I mean, I love cooking flour, but concentrates are my favorite too.
Sure. That's so much easier. It's one thing I did forget to talk about is people always ask about, well, if I'm baking something, won't it decarboxylate while it's in the oven? And the answer is probably not, and not enough, or not properly, and not evenly. Yes. If you've ever baked, well, you know, like when you put a turkey in the oven, and you check it with the thermometer, the inside of the turkey is never the same temperature as the oven. Yes. So the same with, you're not leaving baked goods in very long, right? The center of them really never gets as hot or even close as the oven. So you still have to decarb.
Yep. And Amanda, too, really quick, the last point I think I want to make, and we can always do a more expanded video on this. I feel like we could talk forever, but temperatures baking with, that's a question I get asked all the time. So you kind of just answered it there. People are always, you never set your 350 or 320. The internal temperature is not going to get that hot. So
no, never.
You'll have to be careful, but
yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, because baking, nothing is in the oven that long. It's never in the oven more than, even a pie, it's never in there more than about 50 minutes. And if things like pie were getting that hot, they'd be boiling.
Yeah.
And they don't boil. So if you do bake a lot, I will say put it on your convection setting if you have that option.
Yes.
It really makes everything bake better. And portion size, like Heather said, make sure you're cutting everything the same size.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like when I bake, I try to keep my oven set to, 425, 430, somewhere around in that temperature. Sometimes wait, what did I say? 420? Oh my gosh.
You said 420, which is so Freudian, but go ahead.
Oh my goodness. That was hilarious. Sorry. 320. my
I was
goodness.
like, man, she's Marie Callender in that. Have you seen the Marie Callender? Okay.
No, I have not. But yeah.
You haven't?
No, I don't
Oh,
have it.
no,
I need-
there's a funny, I'm sure if somebody watching saw, I'll send it to you though. It's Sharon, somebody wrote a complaint letter with a photo of a pie that she burned to Marie
Oh, I did
Callender.
see that. Yes, it was hilarious. The
Yeah,
comments?
when you said you had your oven on 430, I was like,
No
dang
wonder.
girl.
Yeah.
I was like, is that an altitude thing that I'm not
Oh,
aware of?
no, I was just thinking 420 in my brain, but yeah. So, anyways, yeah, definitely a little bit lower than normal cookie recipe temperature, but yeah. So, yeah, this is great. I'm so glad we got to go over this tonight and
Yeah,
share some
that's
fun
perfect
cooking
timing.
tips. And it's also great because a lot of people in the next coming week are going to be surrounded by family and sometimes family anxiety. So it might be nice to offer, if you're in an area where it's recreational, to offer a little extra goodie. Never give someone an edible that they don't know that it's an edible, though. That is not cool for sure.
Even when I dose my dog, I'm like,
Yeah.
You're going down, man. I'm dosing you
yeah,
right now.
Heads up.
And one other thing that is so common and seems so obvious is truly wait like 90 minutes to 2 hours before you decide if you need more of an edible. I know that you hear that a lot, but people are like, no, I'm fine. But I mean, it happens to your most experienced cannabis edible consumers. So yeah, it has, your digestive system's not always as efficient every day as it is, other days, and your metabolism is different, and you consume different amounts of fat, and your liver's probably busy doing other things, and just give it some time before you're like, that didn't work, give me another one.
Exactly.
Because for one thing, you're wasting it.
Yeah, and just when you say that is typically like right after that is when
you're 100%.
What was I thinking? Yeah,
Uh-huh.
exactly. Well, Amanda, it was great chatting with you. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I was super excited about this. So yeah, we'll definitely do some more. Maybe we'll share some recipes or something like that another time. Have a cookie and some tea while we're explaining. That would be lovely. So yeah, we can definitely. All right, sounds good.
So when's our next one?
Yeah, next time is going to be December. Oh my goodness. January what did I say? 19th.
Yep.
Wednesday, January 19th at 7:00. And we are going to be discussing cannabis and kids. How's that sound?
Amen.
Yep. So the benefits that some children are having. I just saw a great testimonial on one of the local Pennsylvania cannabis support groups on Facebook. And it was a video, not of her daughter's face, but of you could hear her speaking in the background, and she was nonverbal, and she's actually starting to speak now. So
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
wow.
It was amazing. So I'm super excited.
On Sunday night, on CNN, Sanjay Gupta has done a series. I think it's just called Weed. I can't remember, but there's another part in that series on Sunday. And I know that there's going to be some children cannabis patients discussed.
That's amazing. I'll have to tune into that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So until next time, everyone, we will see you again in about 4 weeks. And we wish you all the best. And we will see you soon.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.